Hello, Richard Westwood here from St Anne's Church in Chasetown. I've got an update now for any couples who are getting married in any of the churches in the Burntwood Chase Team in 2021. Thank you very much for your patience in all of the ups and downs of the last number of months, the last year, because of the coronavirus pandemic. And we're obviously delighted that in the course of the coming months, it seems very likely that all the weddings that have been planned and expected in the months ahead will be able to take place. So thank you very much for your patience as we've been working through that all together as a community. The next few minutes are a little update with details of situations that will be in place for the churches where you're getting married in the time that's ahead. Firstly, to deal with some of the COVID-19 restrictions which we're all having to deal with. The government's roadmap to lead us out of the coronavirus restrictions has been published, and the guidelines are that from the 12th of April that services can go ahead with up to 15 people in attendance, and after that on the 17th of May it'll rise to 30. The schedule is that after the 21st of June, the fourth step of the government's relaxation is it says there's no legal limit on how many people can attend. So those are the kind of the details in the government's roadmap. But actually the 21st of June is one where there's little detail, and it doesn't say anything about socially distanced seating, or whether face coverings are going to be required, or whether by that stage we'll be able to have singing once more in church. So I really just want to let you know that that's what the arrangements are, but there's still some question marks over what churches will be allowed to have in the services that are happening in the times that's ahead. So please do watch out for what the government's advice is, and obviously if we hear any more details we'll pass that on to you as soon as we can. But it probably will be wise to keep some flexibility about the plans that you have for the actual service itself, because things may well change. Clearly we want everything to be as normal as possible, but we're trying to make sure that we're flexible too and can accommodate whatever requirements we might need to. Secondly, to mention to you about some new marriage regulations that the government is bringing in from the 4th of May. It's to do with the way that marriages are registered. And for the majority of couples, there's really not much change in terms of what goes on. The major change will be that you won't receive a marriage certificate on the day of your wedding. Previously, what happened is that couples who are getting married would sign the marriage registers and sign a marriage certificate, as would also the witnesses that you've chosen. And the government's new guidelines are that shouldn't happen anymore. What will happen is there are still signatures to be made on the day, but they're made onto what's called a marriage document. And then the minister who's authenticating or taking the service will have the responsibility of sending that marriage document onto the local registry office, and they will then complete the process by sending onto the couple who've got married their marriage certificate, and that will happen separately. And it's one of the ways to make sure that there's an online version of the marriage registration as well as a paper copy, which will have happened in the church previously. There are one or two other details, and those will be in a letter which you'll be getting shortly. But on the whole, the main thing is that you won't get a certificate on the day of your wedding as well. One of the good changes that we think is happening is that previously couples could only list the father of the bride and groom on the marriage certificate, and now the arrangements are that you can have father or mother or parent if you choose to be included in your marriage on your marriage certificate, which will be produced by the registry office. More details about that, if you want them, do get in touch and we'll be happy to let you know. In the coming weeks, the person who's taking your wedding service for you should be able to get in touch with you, and we'll make arrangements to have a chat with you, meet up with you. That could either be in person in your home or in church. So, that might be a good idea, so you can see what the arrangements might be and imagine a bit better how the service is going to feel and look. But if you prefer and if it's more appropriate, we can do that through online means, perhaps via a Zoom call if that's any better. And lastly, just to mention banns of marriage. Those are the public announcements of your intention to marry, and they're normally made in the month before you get married on the first 3 Sundays of the month. So if you are getting married in July, in the first 3 Sundays of June, the church where you're getting married and also the local church of the parish where you live will announce your intention to marry and provided no one raises an objection, then that's all signed off. The people involved in reading the announcements in the churches will sign a certificate, and that gets passed to the minister who's taking the service, which proves that the marriage can happen legally. That should all be able to happen now, because while services were postponed in earlier times of the year or last year in full lockdown, when churches were closed, we obviously couldn't make those announcements. But now many churches are restarting services on Sundays, and those announcements, those bans of marriage can be made. It's worth just knowing there that some churches are still not meeting regularly on a Sunday, sometimes for very good reasons. And that's certainly the case for St John's Church in Chase Terrace. So if you live in Chase Terrace, St John's Chase Terrace won't be able to announce your bans of marriage, and that will mean you need to get some other means of making your marriage legal. And the best way to do that is what's called getting a common licence, and the details about how to go about that will be on the letter that you'll get. Please don't worry about it. There's a bit more involved in going to see someone and swearing an affidavit, a sort of legal statement to say that this really is me. You have to prove your identity with a passport or a driving licence, and your entitlement to marry in the church that you've chosen to have for your service. So a few more things to sort out, but on the whole it's fairly straightforward, and we can help you make contact with the person who you would need to go and see to be able to do that. So please do get in touch if that would be at all helpful. And finally, after all the ups and downs of recent months, I just want to say thank you for bearing with us and all the other uncertainties that have been going on in life recently. And in particular to do with the plans for your wedding. It's been, for many people, it's been on, off, paused, restarted with all sorts of different possibilities about who can and who can't attend. And we have a sense of just how difficult that's been to try and hold together those plans that you've had for a long, long time when so much has been changing. And I also want to encourage you that God's really in the mix of all this, and particularly in times of stress and difficulty, we can ask for and receive God's help in ways that we really, really need. So please do invite God into the process of planning your wedding service and your marriage as well. My experience is that when we really need it, God really shows up and helps us in ways that we wouldn't have been able to imagine or expect. So obviously we'll be praying for you and all the other couples who are getting married in the churches of the Burntwood Chase Team in the coming times, and we're really looking forward to sharing with you on your big day. Please don't be scared to get in touch. If there's anything we can do to help, probably the most straightforward way would be to get in touch with the wedding coordinator in the church where you've booked to get married. But if that isn't working, then feel free to get in touch with St John's, to get in touch with St Anne's Church office, where our administrator will be able to pass you on to whoever's the most appropriate place. St Anne's Church office is 01543 686 111, or you can reach them by email at stanneschurch@hotmail.co.uk. Thank you very much for listening in and watching this. And like I say, you'll be getting a letter with some more of the details explaining the ins and outs of the wedding process for the time that's ahead. But God bless you, and we look forward to seeing you on your wedding day very soon in one of our local churches. Take care, stay safe, and God bless you.